This is the Your Kick-Ass Life podcast, episode 54, with guest Joe Casey. Any links and resources you hear in this podcast can be found by going to yourkickasslife.com/54.
This is the Your Kick-Ass Life podcast with Andrea Owen, a no BS guide to self-help and badassery. Because ladies, let's face it, life's too short for it to not kick ass. And here's your host, the girl who serves it up straight with a side of crazy, Andrea Owen.
Ass Kickers, welcome to another episode, and I am so happy that you're here because I have my dear friend and colleague, Joe Casey is here. And Joe and I are this is kind of a special episode. Joe and I are gonna talk about the coaching industry. And before you hit pause and delete on your phone and not listen to this episode, if you have even thought for 1 second how it would be to be a life coach, if you were thought about leaving your career, leaving your job, and doing what I do, this episode is for you. So a while back, I had an episode about it. I got a lot of great feedback about this kind of episode, talking about the coaching industry at large. And so that's what we're doing today. So let me tell you a little bit about Joe. She has 20 years experience of working as a trainer and consultant in the corporate, public, and third sectors. Her flashy clients and workplaces have included Price Waterhouse, Coopers, the NHS, BT, Toyota Motors, Peugeot Business School, then the Welsh Assembly. She said she's also worked with no less wonderful smaller ventures, micro businesses, and SMEs. She's a self-confessed geek and have taught at college and university levels and is a visiting lecturer at the University of Chester. She has a master's degree in coaching and organizational development and is an NLP master practitioner, MBTI qualified professional certified emotional intelligence EQI 2.0 consultant. Doesn't that sound fancy? She's been coaching for 12 years now, clocking up over 1,000 hours of coaching experience. Basically, she says, I carefully tread that line between being passionate and a tiny bit obsessive about what she does. She also runs an accredited coach training program and coaches people from all over the world via the power of the internet. So without further ado, here is Joe. Oh, hey there, ass kickers. Welcome to episode 54 of the Your Kick-Ass Life podcast. And this is a special episode because I know a lot of you out there that follow me or listen to my podcast are either interested in becoming a life coach or are life coaches yourself. And so way back when, I think it was episode 17, I had Rebecca Tracy on, who's a friend and fellow coach, and we had an honest conversation about the coaching industry. I think that was the title of the podcast episode, and it's been a long time, 30 some episodes. And I decided to do it again and have another honest conversation about the industry, with some valuable tips and tools and things like that. And I brought on my dear friend, Joe Casey. Hey, Joe.
Hey.
Hey. So Joe's coming to us all the way from the UK. Whereabouts in that area, by the way?
I'm in the north of England, so in Manchester.
Okay. I don't know where that is because I've never been there.
It's the bit where it rains a lot. I think we have the record for the most rain in the country. Yeah, which kind of adds to our dour, not so sunny. Not quite so optimistic outlook on life. It's kind of grounded.
Yeah, well, as Americans, we love your accent. I mean, I'm sure I can speak for a lot of my listeners. So thank you for being here. And you guys, I know that there's a lot of you out there who write to me and ask me questions, and I'm thinking about doing this. And life coaching as an industry is exploding. I mean, it has exploded. Wouldn't you agree, Joe?
Oh, for sure. I mean, I did my first coaching course, did my first training 14 years ago, and I did the first coaching course that was even available in the UK. And since then, it is just, it's grown like a gazillion %. Oh,
yeah,
that's really
a gazillion %. That's an
a gazillion
metric.
%. That is scientifically accurate. No, but
I don't doubt it because, I mean, it wasn't 14 years ago. I signed up with the Coaches Training Institute in 2007, which was only about 8 years ago. And back then, there weren't a whole lot of coaching schools to choose from. There was like Coachville, Coach U, CTI and I think CTA, which is like the Coaches Training Association or something like that. And there was just a handful of them. So it was easy to pick. And so when people ask me, you know, they're like, I Googled it and there's so many choices. What's your advice? I'm like, I don't know. Like, it's been so long since I've researched. I have no idea. So there's definitely, you know, best practices and things like that. And I think, and it's funny because I don't feel like I've been doing this all that long, but in life coaching years, I'm like a dinosaur. And you're really a dinosaur, Joe.
Oh, I'm like grandma. Yeah.
You'd be a dinosaur. I'm a grandma. Yeah, okay, for sure. Yeah. Okay. So let's jump into the good stuff. So let's first talk about anyone that would like to become a life coach. Let's start there. What do you think they need to know?
They need to know that there's a lot of people making money, and this is going to be quite ironic, coming off my mouth for what I do, but there's a lot of people making their living and trying to convince life coaches that it's really easy to make six figures really quickly. And that's kind of their business model, because that's what we want. We're hungry for it. We want to know, I want to go out and do this amazing thing and use these amazing tools and be able to make a great living from it. And whilst I'm not saying that it's not possible, because it is totally possible, it's going to take you a lot longer than an awful lot of those quite high priced, in my opinion. Coaching courses are teaching you that it's going to. It's, you know, I can count on one finger the number of people I know who've done it in 6 months, and even then it wasn't really 6 months. You know, it's you need to be in this for, it's going to take you a good few years, like, you know, between 2 and 4 years on average, I think, in my experience, before you're able to be making a consistent, decent living from it. And so you just need to know that going in. What I hate is that when coaches burn out because they feel like they're a failure because they're not making, you know, six figures, or they haven't been able to quit their corporate job within the first 6 months. And I just really want to say to people, you are so not a failure. This is called building a business for a reason. You have to give it a chance to build. So long as you know that going in, and you go into it doing, you know, your due diligence, and you have a bit of a plan, and you understand the pieces that are involved, then it's a wonderful profession to be in.
Yeah. I couldn't agree more. And I love that I had no idea how you were going to answer that question. But I'm glad that you,
this isn't a subject we have covered ad nauseum.
But I think that one of the reasons that we're seeing so many people come over to this profession is because of the shiny object that's being thrown in their faces, that, and I see it. I was commenting on a mutual group that Joe and I are in about these Facebook ads that are coming into, you know, our news feeds, that are saying that you can make six figures in your first year of coaching, and there's a step-by-step formula, etc. I don't see these ads anymore because I mark them as uninterested, which, by the way, you guys, you can do that to any Facebook ad. Please don't do it to mine, because that would hurt my feelings. But I'm just not interested in them genuinely, so I don't even see them anymore. But like, I hear from my colleagues that they're getting more and more and more. And so what Joe and I are saying is that it is possible, but I love that you said it takes 2 to 4 years to make a decent living. In other words, don't quit your day job right off the bat, which breaks my heart, which I see coaches do. You know, they quit their job and they have like one client, and then that client stops working with them anymore. And then they're like, where are the rest of them? Where's the money? And it's not coming in, and they've quit their job. And I think you know, if I'm going to put kind of a, you know, a number on it, I would say to make six figures, be in it for about 8 years before you throw in the towel. As far as like, that's just as far as making a living too, because I'm with you. Like, I see people quit a few years in and they feel like a failure, and it's like, God, it's like any other business. It is going to take you a while to build your clientele to be able to make a living at it.
For sure. I mean, and I quit myself. I mean, you know, I speak from experience. When I first did my coaching course, you know, when they do that thing, I don't know if they did for you as well, but in my coaching school, they do that thing where they tell you how much you can charge an hour, which is like, you know, at the time, 14 years ago, like £100, $100. And then you work out how many clients you need to get, and you're thinking, wow, if I
I had my calculator out.
Yeah, 20 clients a week. Oh my goodness, that's like, yeah, I am quitting my job right now. And so when that didn't happen, when I was hustling and hustling and hustling, and I had, 4 or 5 clients, and then as you say, they finish with you because obviously you don't want to have them there for life. That's not the point of coaching.
Right.
And then it's like, well, actually, I have no idea how to get clients. I have no idea how to market myself, and it feels icky and it feels horrible. And when you get the odd knock from people saying, well, life coach, is that like therapy, or what sport do you coach? Or, and you get those, and it feels really lonely. You've no idea how to do your taxes. And it just got too much. I was just running up debt. I was a single parent, and I just thought, this is too hard. I'm going to go off and get a job. Mm-hmm. And I did. And I was really lucky that my job ended up involving coaching because, I was just mega passionate and ended up doing it in my day job. And that kind of turned things around for me. But that whole kind of, what I really want people to grasp is there's one thing, learning the skill of coaching and becoming a really good coach. And then there's the other skill of running a business. And they're totally separate things. You may be a fantastic coach, but that doesn't mean you're going to know how to run a business.
Yes. And I am so glad you said that. I did not know that. I went in wide-eyed with, stars in my eyes and just exactly. Like I learned how to coach, and I was confident in that and ready to take on the world. And that's, I think too, the thing that's sort of heartbreaking is because, we're not doing anything that's like the service of it is amazing. Like if you think about it, like we're helping people change their lives for the better. Yeah. And what could be more rewarding than that? And so we are pumped when we get out there.
Absolutely. We're going to change the world one client at a time. Absolutely. Can you imagine if everybody was coaching or being coached, and we were, and then you get into the conversation, if we were teaching kids this in school, how to, all of that.
Don't put me up on my soapbox about that.
We can change the world.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but it is. It's a completely separate topic to talk about how to coach and the skill of coaching. And because Rebecca Tracy says it best, and she's like, no, you don't, like, life coaching isn't a business, that's a skill. Your business is separate. And if you don't know how to do that, then you better get your butt learning. And that was what I did. Like, I didn't even know anything about like the back ends of websites. I'm like, what's HTML or WordPress or like, I didn't know any of that. I didn't know what, and because so I think that we should probably differentiate, because there's 2 different models that you can have as a life coach. You can have sort of like the kind of grassroots, local, more in-person clientele and business model, which works wonderfully. And that's kind of like, if I had to name it, it's kind of like the old school way of doing it before the internet was so big and before quote unquote internet marketing became a thing. That's how people do it. So like, the alumni from my school, from CTI, that got certified back in the 90s, a lot of them, all of them, that's how they built their business. And a lot of them, that's still how they do it. And they're making a great living, because they've been doing this for 20 years and they have built up their clientele. So what that looks like is you are doing workshops in your area. You are getting in front of people. You are talking about what you do every single day as much as possible. And so you're getting more in-person clients, and you're doing more in-person events and workshops and speaking. And it's a lot of in-person networking. Yeah. And so like what Joe and I more so do is the online aspect of it, where you're building an email list and you're engaging on social media, etc. So when I started, I'm like, I don't even know, like, what is an email list? Like the systems for that, I had no idea. Like, what is MailChimp and Aweber and Constant Contact, and which one do I choose? Oh my God. Like you were saying, like taxes and scheduling systems and like how people pay you and all of those things. I took a class. I took like this little teleclass on how to do all that, just to like get all that figured out. And then the rest of it, the marketing, has just kind of been here and there and trial and error. And, like you were saying, like taking classes to figure out what works. And what am I missing?
Oh gosh. Well, there's the scheduling, there's the money, there's things like contracts, and how do you make sure
packets.
that you've got your client forms, you're doing things kind of safely and ethically and with a degree of legality to it as well, because you still run your business, you've got insurance, all of those things. And that's before you've even got your first client.
Right.
You know, it's
the question of sole proprietorship or LLC. Do I need to file a trademark for my business name? Do I need
to be certified?
Right. That's another big question too. What is your take on that? I know a lot of your philosophies, but I don't know that one.
It's kind of different in the UK. We have a different system. So we don't have things like CTI, and we have something called the ICF, which is the International Coaching Federation, and they have approved some schools, but there's no kind of one big school or no one big association that does certification. So what tends to happen in the UK is there are a couple of big, more academic organisations. So I have a master's degree in coaching because I'm a huge nerd. Because it's just like, I love this so much. I'm going to read white papers on it all day, you know, and I do genuinely. My husband has a look that just kind of glazes over, just goes, oh, please stop talking now. So I went that kind of academic route, but we also have things like the Institute of Leadership and Management, which accredit things which are more workplace. The industry of coaching within the UK is much more embedded in the workplace, so within kind of corporate coaching, than it is in life coaching. I think in life coaching, there doesn't seem to be any real desire to have certification. I think it's still a bit Wild Westy out there. Myself, I've met some amazing kind of almost natural coaches, and then I've met some, you know, pretty shoddy ones who have got the certification. It's not a guarantee, but for me, it's about doing the work.
Yeah.
That's the big thing. Have you done the work? Whether you've done that formally, whether you've done that and got the certificate, or whether you've done that through, you know, piecing it together in this kind of more patchwork school of life way. If you've done the work on yourself, then that to me is the sign of a great coach.
Yes.
You know, and things like ethics and, you know, stuff like that, and actually knowing what you're doing is coaching. There's quite a few people out there who are doing some things that I figured, wow, I've not heard of that niche before. You know, there are some that are just
not
a bit wild for me, but that's. So I guess what I'm saying in a very convoluted way, it's kind of a bit different. But for me, I'm not too concerned whether you've got the certification, and I don't think most clients are too concerned. I've certainly never had anybody ask me what my credentials are, or although I do have them on my website, so maybe they read into that. But if I'm doing corporate work, because I do still do quite a lot of corporate work, it's much more important there.
Okay. Yeah, I agree with everything you said. And I think that here's what I know. I won't repeat anything, but here's what I know for sure, just in my experience with working with a lot of newer coaches, because I do consulting with them on their new businesses. And what I have found is that the people that come to work with me that want to work on their coaching business that have not had training have less confidence in what they're doing. And they tend to take up the time asking me a lot of questions about how to coach. You know, like, what if I have this, you know, like we're because we spend a lot of time in the beginning working on, you know, what's your message and what's your niche. And so when we finally nail that down and they say like, well, what if I have a client that comes to me with this? And it's like, you have got to figure that out. And the best way to do that is to go to training, because that's what they're going to teach you. And I agree with you too about the ethics. And I think that's what we call it too, is the Wild West. Like that's what the industry is, because anybody can hang out a shingle and call themselves a life coach. And for anyone listening to this podcast who isn't interested in becoming a life coach and just wants to hire one, I think that it's important just for the ethics piece, I think it's important to hire somebody who's been certified, because the confidentiality aspect alone is enormous in coaching. And I think it's important to find someone who's been taught that and trained in that area. Yeah. I mean, there are some, we've talked about this before, there are some scary stories out there of, you know, people who've hired life coaches who have just, you know, aren't anything like I would envisage a life coach being. But, you know, it is a bit Wild Westy out there. So you do have to be careful. But yeah, I hear what you're saying about the confidence thing, because a big part of my business up until kind of 18 months ago was training coaches as well. And, you know, and that's
that journey of becoming a confident coach and knowing what are the things that are going to come up from a client, and what if they do this, and what if they say that, and what if this happens, and all of that thing. Yeah, you want to be able to concentrate on building your business and not that, you don't be doing both of them at the same time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
it's too much.
I agree. And the great thing too about coaching school is that once you have that under your belt, you have like an alumni group probably that you can turn to. I know with the Coaches Training Institute, like we have a very large Facebook group. And it's great because that comes up, like you're like, okay, so I have this client and she's really stuck here. What are some exercises that you guys do if you have a client with this? And, and then soon there's like 25 answers in there. So it's great to just have that network of people. And that's also really important too, because those people that you go to coaching school with can be in like a mastermind group with you to help you build your business. And I've mentioned that before, that being in a mastermind group with colleagues that are like, around the same kind of level that you are in business can be invaluable to your success.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. It's one of I think it was the make or break thing for me. It was, in terms of being able to do this, you need someone to talk you down from the ledge. As well as doing all that kind of cheering you on and brainstorming and things like that, you also need the people who just go, guys, I have just had the worst experience ever, and people just go, okay, just calm the F down.
Yes.
Just step back from this. And yeah, absolutely invaluable. And people get it, because if you're not in this online, I know we've kind of talked about this a little bit on Facebook about, my husband's a broadcast engineer, and I think your husband's an engineer as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. No clue what a life coach does. Clue. Bless him. We've been together like 10 years now, and we've been married for 7, and he still has that look on his face. We call it our active listening faces.
I practice that.
No idea what I'm talking about. My parents don't, and most of my friends who have, regular jobs don't, and that's fine. Mm-hmm. But it's really important when that you have people who at least you have that shorthand with about, well, this is what I'm talking about, and these are the type of issues, instead of getting those blank faces like, huh?
Yeah.
Why is that a problem? Huh? Right. You can do that? Can you make money doing that? Do you like what?
Oh my gosh. Well, you guys, we are going to keep talking here. And if you're interested in learning more, Joe and I are going to host a webinar on June 30th at 2 p.m. Eastern time. And we're going to talk to you about the 6 biggest mistakes that life coaches make and how to avoid them. And Joe, remind me where they go to sign up for that. Do they just go to getyourassofftheground.com and they can sign up?
Yes, we've got this the fantastic name that you came up with. I'm giving you full credit.
I know.
Getyourassofftheground.com, and you can sign up there for the webinar and get a few more of the details there. But yeah, it's going to be really good fun.
I am surprised that URL wasn't taken, for some kind of exercise group. But like that's the reason that I wanted to name it that. And I taught a class for coaches, I think last year, called Get Your Ass Off the Ground, because that's what we love to teach people how to do, because it's overwhelming in this business. Like, where do I start? And I think, I don't think that this is one of the things we're going to talk about in the webinar, but a mistake that I see coaches make is they try their damnedest to build their social media presence. And that's not getting your ass off the ground. Yeah, those are, some people call them vanity metrics. And really, like where it's at is if you're going to run an online business, it's building your list. So eventually in the class that we're going to teach next month, we will teach you how to do that, because there sure is a method to the madness.
Absolutely. And I think that's one of the things. If I think back, I know, I keep thinking, what would I have wanted to know when I first started out? And I think
that's one of the interview questions I was going to ask you. So
oh, really? Sorry.
Have the floor.
Do you want me to sponsor it now?
Or do you want to go and take a break and have some donuts, and you can just keep talking?
Okay. Well, I think I'd have wanted somebody to say, okay, do these things, forget about all of this.
Yes.
And it's having that list of things that you don't have to worry about, as well as these are the things that work. These are the kind of almost like the fundamental things you need to be focusing on and you need to be doing, and forget about all of this, because you do not need to worry about, conversion metrics on your sign up site if you're only getting 30 people a month to your website. which I was for the first year of my business.
Welcome to reality.
You don't get 1,000 visitors, so it doesn't really matter how well your latest sign-up page is converting. But I've done webinars on that. I've attended classes on things like that. And just you don't need it. You don't need to worry about your followers. You don't need to worry about how you structure and write your ebook, and you need to stop overthinking what your freebie giveaway is going to be.
And stop paying tons and tons and tons of money for that.
Yes.
There's a lot you can DIY in the beginning.
Absolutely.
And
you don't expensive website, in my opinion.
No.
In fact, you don't. I say to my clients initially, you basically need 3 pages on your website. If you're going to do it kind of really minimum, you need 3 pages. A homepage which tells people exactly, as soon as they land on it, what you do for them. and not,
I am a life coach that helps people live their best lives.
Yes.
What the hell does that mean?
I know. Oprah, managed it, but
Yeah. Yeah, well, and there's something to say about that. I think that people, and this is really interesting because it's kind of going back to what I was saying before about the old school coaches that started in the 90s, and a lot of them, if you look, like their websites aren't great and beautiful and sparkly, and they do they use like coach jargon, that's what we call it, on their websites where they talk about stepping into their most authentic life and things like that, which we recommend as new coaches not to do. But here's the difference. They've been doing it for 20 years, and they have most of their clients come from referrals because they have a large referral base.
Yeah.
That's the difference. So it's like, I'm really honest with people. Like, if you started your coaching business in 1995 or even like 2005, there's a big difference than starting your coaching business in 2015, because the pool of I will say this too. I'll probably talk about this on the webinar as well. So I did in Google, you can compare different things of what people are typing into Google to see. So I wanted to know the difference of how many people are typing in how to become a life coach versus how many people are typing in I need a life coach. So how many people were looking for life coaches versus looking to become a life coach? And guess which one had way more?
This is going to come out in our favor.
I know. And it's like, here's the thing. So, and this isn't to say like, don't become a life coach. No, I hope that there are more life coaches in the world, because the world needs coaching. And here's the really good news too. We are experiencing as a culture kind of like this conscious awakening and this like spiritual uprising where people are tired of feeling like shit. And they know, like, therapy isn't like this taboo subject anymore. And people know that life coaches exist. And a lot of people actually know what life coaches do. So that's really, really great news for us. So my point is that you have to stand out in this very noisy market. And if you're not getting help for your actual business, good luck. That's all I'm going to say. And it's like, I hate to say it, but had I not gotten help with my business, I don't know where I would be today. I would probably still have liveyourideallife.com, which was my first URL, which is okay, but it's not nearly as good as the brand that I built today. And I built that brand because of tenacity, because of, I always say there's like 3 things that you really need as a coach. It's patience, perseverance, and hustle. And so it was those 3 things that have carried me and built my success, and help to learn how to build a business.
Yeah, for sure. And it'd be lovely if you could just, pay somebody, I don't know, $1,000, build me a website, and then suddenly you would just have this list of people just emailing you straight away saying, can you be my life coach, please? That would be lovely. But that's fantasy land. That just doesn't happen. And you need to be able to tell people what you can do for them, why you're different. And that doesn't mean, different as in, well, I'm green and I have 2 heads different. It's different as in you've got to be able to let your personality and your unique combination of skills and experiences and background shine through. That's another thing I see coaches do. They like try and reinvent themselves into the latest life coach that they really admire. And they almost downplay all of the things that makes them unique. The the mess ups, the mistakes that we've made in our lives, those great big awful learning experiences that life throws at us, all of that can be used as part of your, not just your skills as a coach, but if you choose to, as part of your brand as a coach. Because if you're saying to people, hey, I'm just perfect, and let me show you how to be perfect too, that's just, who would want to hire a coach like that? But if you're saying, look, I am human, and this is the path that I've walked, and this is the journey that I've been on, this is the one that I'm still on, that is so much more compelling to be able to do that. But it's a way that you do that in a way that is going to show potential clients how you can help them, rather than it just being, this is my story, this is all about me. And that's quite a tricky one to pull off, and that's something that I see coaches struggle with a lot. And I know that's where, a lot of the work you do, a lot of the work Rebecca Tracy does, a lot of the work that I do, is helping people to kind of craft that message in a way that's going to get people to go, oh, I see how she can help me, or how he can help me.
Yeah, and I'm glad that you went down that path, because we're not therapists, and it's like the old therapy and social worker model. And it's actually, I shouldn't say old, but it's like the original, I guess I should say, where they were taught and trained to not talk about their own lives and their own vulnerabilities. It's part of how that works. And I think it works for them. Like, I do know some therapists who are also coaches, and so they kind of do the best of both worlds. And I wonder if that's tricky for them, but I make up that it probably is a little bit. But I think that we're seeing this huge new trend of helping professionals who are also talking about their own lives. I mean, look at Glennon Doyle Milton from Momistry, who's got a gigantic following, who goes on tour, and she, it's not really her business model. She's a philanthropist, which is amazing, but she has built a business basically on telling her story and being really, really vulnerable. I mean, it's the same thing with Brene Brown. I mean, she has a research background and she's in academia, but this is what's happening. And this makes me so happy, because we actually get to be human and see each other for what we really are.
Yeah. Because, you're hiring a coach. You're not hiring a computer program or a robot or something, and it's, I think that's where the internet can be a hindrance and can be a real help to us kind of micro business entrepreneurs. We're doing it on our own. You haven't got $100,000 marketing budget, but you can stand out as you, because it's all about human connection.
It is. And, one of my favorite things that I love doing is, when I first work with a coach, is I want to know what their stories are. Like, what have you overcome? Like, where is your struggle? And so many of them are hesitant to talk about it. And I get that. Like, I can sympathize, because at one point it's like, here they are starting a brand new business, and they want to put their best foot forward. They want to, make people know that they are a great coach and they're good at what they do, and they have the solution for their ideal client's problem. And then on the other hand, and I'm like, no, tell them your face down in the dirt story. And they're like, no. So my advice there is to ease in. It's like, I always say, you don't have to get naked on the first date. Just take your jacket off and just, put your guard down and at least mention, okay, I've been through a divorce. I've been through an eating disorder. I've been through, X, Y, and Z. And then as you get more confidence and as time goes on, maybe you write a blog post about it. But these are the and if you ever want a speaking career, we teach through stories. And so it just is really important for you to start and try to get vulnerable. And this is doing your own work. And, I'm kind of switching gears here, but this is another thing I see that coaches do that makes them not successful, is they don't work on themselves while they're building their business.
Yeah. Oh, because if you want the biggest learning, or one of the biggest learning experiences that you can go through in terms of self-growth, start your own business. It will bring up all of your stuff.
Oh my God.
Don't like feeling exposed? Start your own business.
Yeah. Don't like having money issues? Start your own business.
Yeah. Need approval? Scared somebody won't like you? Put out the blog post where, you get the first person just going, you're the biggest idiot I've ever heard of.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I've gotten those.
Yeah. Great learning experiences. But they are, and it's true. And that's one of the reasons why having, a community around you and having a mastermind group, because when you get those up-leveling moments, as we call them in the coaching world.
I call them AFCOs, another fucking growth opportunity.
Oh, yeah.
It's true. It's all true. And, yeah. Okay, I want to ask you one more question before we wrap it up here. So what surprises you about this industry?
How it changes, I think. The kind of what seems to be flavor of the month, or what seems to be the thing everyone's doing, it will be totally different in 3 months' time. And so I think that whilst having the strategies and having an eye on, okay, what seems to be working right now is really important. It's also really important to be grounded and think, okay, what are the fundamentals that I can be doing?
Yeah.
I can remember 6 months ago, it was all about video Facebook ads. Now it seems to be all about Periscope. Periscope seems to just exploded on my timeline this first, few days, few weeks. All of those things will carry on changing. And I'm also, on a more optimistic note, I'm really impressed with how we keep on going and how many people are wanting to take this step away from, I suppose, what might have been seen as a safe career and, doing, working in corporates or something like that, and actually going out there and putting themselves out there and building something that matters and wanting to do this work in the world. And that keeps me really optimistic and smiley pretty much every day.
I love that. And I feel like such a Debbie Downer sometimes and get really cynical. And I think it's really only because we see so much, we see so much of the glittery part of it. And I like to shine the light on the truth because I am a truth teller, and you can always count on me for honesty. And so I'm glad that you said that, because the pros in this industry are phenomenal. I mean, this job is, if I had known how amazing it was, when I first started, I would have started sooner, because I dragged my feet in signing up for training for years. And so I mean, it's great. Like, I get to make my own schedule and, go to my kids' classes when I want to and pick them up from school. And I had a coach one time, and she called all that stuff cosmic cash, because it's like all the really great stuff about this job that isn't actual cash money. And I wouldn't trade it for anything in the world. And I think that, if you've been called to do this, then you absolutely need to. And it might look different than, what Joe and I have built, or what you see out there from these seasoned coaches. Maybe it's corporate coaching that's within the company that you work for, or maybe it's a health coach for a network marketing company, or maybe it's, there's so many varieties that you're not limited. Joe and I talk a lot about life coaching because it's like one of the most common, I would say next to corporate coaching, but there's lots of different varieties of it. And I think it's the best job on earth.
No, I agree. But yeah, but we would say that, wouldn't we?
We would. Well, thank you so much for being here. And again, you guys, at getyourassofftheground.com, you can sign up. The webinar is the 30th, so it's coming up soon at 2 p.m. There will be a recording that is only available for a few days, so we would love to see you there. The 6 biggest mistakes coaches make and how to avoid them. We are going to be talking about some juicy stuff, so we hope to see you there. Any parting words you have for us?
No, just that it's going to be awesome. Be there or be square.
It is. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for being here and for showing up. I am so grateful to have you as listeners to the Your Kick-Ass Life podcast, and I will see you next time for episode 50 something. I don't know. 55, I think, is the next time. Until then, I will see you in cyberspace. Bye-bye.